welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast. Got a pretty interesting show for you here today to talk about what else, LeBron and MJ in the GOAT debate, but in a kind of different context here. But before we get to that, you know what we got to do. If you're on YouTube and you haven't already, go ahead, click that subscribe, that like, and that notification bell. Also, if you want the audio only version of the podcast, make sure you open your audio podcast platform, open up the search box, type in the Format Podcast, give us a little search. We should come up. You can go ahead and subscribe and listen right there. If you enjoy the content, please make sure you give us that 5-star review. And don't forget to share the podcast with other sports fans you know that might enjoy that out of the box thinking and not the same old stuff that you're hearing from everybody else. Okay. Finally, make sure you do all those things because it helps us rise in the algorithm, helps more sports fans find us, helps us find more sports fans. And here we go. Let's get right to it. All right. So the biggest argument in NBA circles for years now has been what? We know what it is. Who's the greatest player of all time? The GOAT debate, right? And for most of my time growing up watching basketball, that was never really a thing until like LeBron James came along. Now, I don't know if that's a function of the sports debate format talk shows and in the sports media nowadays, or if it's a format, not a format, a function of more sports fans just arguing about it, but it has become an ongoing debate day in, day out, topic in, topic out. Who's the best player of all time, LeBron James or Michael Jordan? Now, for me, and I think for most people who are basketball fans or knowledgeable basketball fans, they're going to say it's Michael Jordan. People want to give LeBron credit. Okay, that's cool. A lot of people, including people in the know, have LeBron at number 2. I don't have LeBron in my top 5. That's a different discussion for another day. But the fact is this, there are a lot of people out there who think LeBron James is the greatest basketball player of all time. But I'm pretty sure that the widely held opinion on that is that Michael Jordan is the GOAT. But even if not, this is still a pretty interesting thing, right? So when it comes to Michael Jordan, here's the thing. The accolades, the accomplishments, the skill set, the athleticism, the fundamentals, the winning on every level, I could go on and on, right? None of that stuff can be denied. And all that is what you kind of put into place to put him atop that GOAT debate, if that's where you have him. And for me, one of the biggest things is the absolutely dominant level of winning. And not just the winning, but keeping so many other all-time greats from getting championships once he climbed the mountain. For me, that's probably the biggest argument for him as the GOAT, right? Now, a lot of people who have LeBron as the GOAT, they like to say, you Jordan fans act like Michael Jordan's career only lasted for 6 years. And no, that's not what we're saying. And if you go back and check the channel, I actually have a video called MJ Never Beat Bird, where it kind of details Michael Jordan's path and the hurdles he had to overcome climbing to that level of being ultimately that champion and then shutting out everybody else, you know, for the rest of his tenure as a Chicago Bull. Some quick notes about that. You know, if you look at some of the all-timers that couldn't win while Michael Jordan was at his apex, there's Dominique Wilkins, there's Stockton and Malone, there's Gary Payton and Sean Kemp. Gary Payton didn't win until later after Mike was gone. He won at the end of his career with the Miami Heat. There's a Patrick Ewing, there's Charles Barkley. These guys are all-time greats who couldn't get to the mountaintop because Mike kept them from getting there. A lot of people feel like Olajuwon wouldn't have his 2 rings if Michael Jordan hadn't retired for those 2 years. That may well be the case. I think that's an interesting debate in of itself, but the fact is this: if you're looking at empirical evidence, there is no evidence to suggest that Michael Jordan could lose in the finals because it simply never happened. And not only that, he never even made it to a game 7, he and the Bulls. So there's that. And one more quick note, LeBron fans love to point to, well, he never won a playoff series without Scottie. And he never won a playoff series without Scottie. And what was he without Phil Jackson? Well, quick question. What was Phil Jackson prior to getting Michael Jordan as his star guy? He hadn't even been a head coach in the NBA before. So not saying that Michael Jordan didn't need those elements, you know, Phil Jackson and Scottie Pippen to assist. But the fact is this: Scottie Pippen never won without Michael Jordan either. And by the time Michael Jordan was gone, Scottie Pippen was a much better player than he would have been. Michael Jordan is what made Scottie Pippen into the all-time great player that he became. But not really the topic of this here, right? So anyway, Michael Jordan, just that guy, right? Now, flip side of the coin, LeBron James has without question had one of the greatest careers ever, and he's still making history and playing at an elite level 20 years in. This past season, he just passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and became the all-time leading scorer in NBA history, and he's still scoring at a level that we have never seen for a player who has played this long. Now, that's testament to obviously his incredible fitness, his incredible natural gifts, his willingness to work on his body and keep it in the condition to play at a high level for such a long time. So, there's credit due there. LeBron's statistical accomplishments in his career are realistically some of the greatest in the history of the game, and he's still adding on to them. He's the only player top 10 in scoring and assists, which is crazy, right? I believe he's either 5th or 4th in assists now, and obviously I just mentioned he's number 1 in scoring. So that is crazy to think about that, right? Now, with that said, I always love to point to it when Hakeem Olajuwon retired, and again, I think he's one of the most criminally underrated superstars of all time. But when he retired, he was the only player in NBA history to be top 10 in 5 major statistical categories, those being points, rebounds, block shots, steals, and field goal percentage. No one else can claim that. So, let's take a grain of salt when we talk about LeBron being top 10 in 2 major statistical categories, which again is absolutely incredible. So don't want to take that away from him. And so when we look at it, LeBron has a heck of a resume himself. He went to 8 straight finals. He's been to 10. He's got 4 championships. Now for me, and I'm not the 6-0, 6 MVPs guy in terms of Michael Jordan, although that is incredible. But the fact is this, for me, it has to be a knock that LeBron has been to the finals that many times and is under 500, especially when for most of his career, he's been stacking the rosters. There's just no way around that, right? But, the LeBron fans are going to argue that, blah, blah, blah. But that's cool. Again, this is not an on its face Michael Jordan versus LeBron James, who's the GOAT video. This actually has to do, and I'm going to move into that now, with one of LeBron James's former teammates, Mario Chalmers, national champion with Kansas, and obviously 2-time NBA champion with Miami Heat. He played 4 years with LeBron in Miami when LeBron played a huge role in bringing together Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and LeBron James to form the Heatles, the Big Three, and they went to 4 straight NBA Finals, losing 2, right? Okay, so Mario Chalmers was his teammate for 4 years, and he knows what LeBron is like. He knows about LeBron's greatness, what LeBron was able to do. He knows what it's like to play with him, but he's also seen LeBron opponents up close and personal. Why do I bring up the opponents? Well, because recently Mario Chalmers, I guess he stirred up the water by making some very interesting comments about how opponents saw or didn't see LeBron James. Check those out, and we'll be back to discuss it.
Nobody fears Bron. Nobody's like, damn, I gotta go play this Bron tonight. Nobody said that. I don't know why.
Right.
Because I've seen people be scared when they actually line up to him, but they're not scared thinking about that matchup.
Right.
You hear anybody from that era talk about going against Jordan, there's a fear.
Right.
So when you have people that fear a player, then that's telling you something different already. Like, Jordan's just that guy. Like, everything was, I want to be like Mike.
Right.
So this to me was really, really interesting because if you're old enough to have watched Michael Jordan play or really, been around during that time to be an NBA fan and kind of take in everything that was going on in the league at that time as a fan, you kind of know. You hear the stories, you hear the quote unquote mythology, but I don't like the term mythology because mythology it gives the impression of something being made up, right? But Michael Jordan, his legend is so great that it's almost mythical, but it's all based in reality. It's all true, right? So anyway, this is so interesting to me because this is a discussion that I've had with people many times in terms of LeBron and Michael Jordan. And one of the biggest things I say is, just like Chalmers, players don't fear LeBron. They feared Michael Jordan. Now you could say, oh, you just a Jordan fan or you a Jordan stan or whatever the term is that they like to call people who say that Michael Jordan is the all-time greatest player. But the fact is, if you go back, you do the research and YouTube is there and the internet is there. It's not really that difficult. You do it. Players, don't fear LeBron the same way they feared Michael Jordan. That's not my opinion, right? When it comes to LeBron, everyone knows he's an all-time great and has had one of the greatest careers in history. We know that. But Chalmers is right when he talks about this. And to some degrees, the lack of fear that LeBron's modern day opponents have for him borders almost on disrespect. We got a guy who's a really outstanding young player in the league. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander plays for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Really talented young guy. Check out his comments. I never liked LeBron's game. To me, when I was younger, he was just super athletic. I wasn't that. He was 6'8" and super strong, and I wasn't that either. Now, when you hear those comments on their face, you say, okay, SGA he's not really trying to take a shot at LeBron, right? He's just kind of talking about the fact that he couldn't really identify with LeBron because LeBron's body type, LeBron's freakish athleticism, he could do things that SGA couldn't do. So SGA says, that wasn't the game I looked to emulate. So I never really liked that. But the fact is this: could we imagine any young player saying something like that to Michael Jordan? Or what would have happened afterwards if they did? There's stories out there. You can go check it out. Kevin Garnett as a crazy rookie, and we know KG been talking trash, that he's been like an energetic psycho on the court for his whole career. But there's stories out there about him getting MJ riled up in a game against the T-Wolves where Isaiah Ryder was kind of going at him, and Isaiah Ryder was a really good two guard at the time, really good, talented guy. And he's going at Mike, and Mike is not having one of his best nights, and KG starts talking greasy, and he amped Mike up. Let's just say it didn't end well for Isaiah Ryder, right? There's a story about a preseason game, and you'll see this in a minute. Reggie Miller talking to Mike, and then it went bad for him. There are stories upon stories upon stories about Michael Jordan and the level of fear that he engendered among players, from bench guys to all-timers. Not just so you can say, oh, he was just punking bums. No. That wasn't it, right? You could hear what he was doing to guys who are all-time greats, Hall of Famers. All right, check this out right here. You'll see.
The one thing that I think that he was unlike any other player I've ever played against is that there was a real fear playing against him. Like people, I've never seen like the league be kind of fearful of a player or have that much reverence for a player. No matter who has come since then, that was a different feeling when you're playing Mike.
The statute of limitations up. I was terrified out there.
Were you really?
Yeah.
You scared of MJ?
Yeah.
You gave
For
him
how
20?
long?
For how long? Right when you took the floor?
No, the whole game.
Oh, I mean, we was just all scared of Jordan. So I mean, that when you show me against him, yeah, I get a little hot. But I couldn't stop Jordan. I mean, I'm looking at the highlights of Jordan, and every single time we double team Jordan down court, but he still averaged his regular season average against the Pistons was 37.5.
Good grief.
And then some nights he would get hot, Q.
But Mike is a whole different thing. So I had to guard them both, and it's not even like Mike. Let me go to sleep tonight. Let me chill. Let me rest the next day. Let me stay focused. Let me eat the right things. Yeah. Kobe, not saying that you had to switch it up, but I didn't have that fear.
I actually told this story to Chris Middleton. My rookie year, I'm guarding him, and I can just, my heart's about to come out of my chest, and I'm just pray that he just shoots a fadeaway jump shot. But he decided to go baseline, and when he went to jump, all I could think about, this cannot be a highlight. And he just did like a little reverse layup. And as he came down and started running back, he just looked back and winked at me. And I thought, oh man, this could be a long night.
I mean, imagine this: Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest players of all time, easily top 10. Some people have him top 5. I've heard him as high as top 3, and that's cool. I don't have him. I have him in my probably around 8 or 9 somewhere in the second half of my top 10. But Kobe was an absolute all-timer, and he tells the story, and here it is.
Time I was getting ready to face Jordan, I had a teammate. He goes to me and said, "Hey, you want some advice? Whatever you do, don't look him in the eye."
So imagine that. You have got a guy that is so destructive on the court that will demolish you to the level that it's known throughout the league. Don't look him in the eyes, right? Don't look him in the eyes. And I actually read about this years ago, and the full thing was, don't look him in the eyes. He takes it as a sign of disrespect. And we've all heard the stories about how Michael Jordan was always looking for any little thing to motivate him to go at somebody. But imagine that. You're a man just like me. I'm a man just like you. And I'm not supposed to look you in the eyes because it's going to set you off. That is fear. And so when when Mario Chalmers talks about this and said guys don't fear LeBron the same way, you can argue, but the question is this: where are these stories about LeBron? I've asked this question for years. Where are they? LeBron has played in the social media era. He's played in the internet era. So we can't say, well, when he's done playing, we'll hear the stories. Not really, because we know these young cats now, as soon as something happens, they're running to put it on social media for the world to consume it. So the question again is, where are these stories about LeBron? They don't exist. That's why. Guys, don't fear him the same way. We heard KG when he was in Boston with the big three, with him, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce, and you could add Rajon Rondo as a fourth, right? And he basically said, we didn't give a F about LeBron. We weren't afraid of him. We didn't give a F about him because we knew he couldn't beat all five of us, right? So I totally get it when Mario Chalmers says, guys don't fear LeBron the same way. And it just is what it is. The LeBron fans can get upset with that all they want. It just is what it is. So what I want to know from you, what do you think about Mario Chalmers' comments? Do you think it's true that Michael Jordan was more feared? What do you think that has to do with? Leave your comments in the comments section. Look forward to hearing from you. And we'll chop it up again on the next episode. And I'm out. Peace.